Good evening, and welcome to the first episode of Negro Leaguers in Puerto Rico. They were our heroes. Hello, everyone. I'm Adam Dorowski, and with me is Jorge Colon Delgado, the official historian of the Puerto Rican Baseball League. Good evening, Jorge. How are you?
Hi, Adam. Happy to be with you, and it's our first episode. They
Yes.
were our heroes too.
Yes. Tonight we will talk about the history of Negro Leaguers in Puerto Rico, but first, Jorge is going to tell us about how baseball began on the island.
Okay, let's begin. Baseball in Puerto Rico began in 1896. Amos Iglesias Bampel, born in Brooklyn, New York in 1879, was responsible for generating interest among the population of San Juan to start practicing the sport and then organizing the first teams with the help of Cuban residents. So, what contribution did the Puerto Rico Professional Baseball League have? Some 220 Negro Leaguers played professionally in Puerto Rico between 1938 and 1968, excluding Negro Leaguers who barnstormed in Puerto Rico in the 1930s and 20s. Major League Baseball, via statement of Commissioner Robert Manfred, officially corrected a long-time oversight in the game's history and now recognize 3,400 plus players from seven organized leagues operating from 1920 to 1948. These Negro Leaguers players are now major leaguers within the official historical records. Moving back, first official baseball game was held on January 9th, 1898 in Santurce between Borinquen, composed by Puerto Ricans, and Almendares, composed by Cubans. It was rained out in the third inning. 3-0, uh, Borinquen was ahead.
Now, this was
What?
not the Almendares that played in Cuba. This was a team that was named after, or
Yes.
maybe inspired by the team name.
Yeah. There was a team inspired by the Almendares in Cuba.
Excellent.
Very famous team, Almendares.
Yes.
And we are talking about January 9th, 1898. And we began then playing every Sunday of January, February. But here's what happened in February. On February 15, 1898, at 9:40 p.m., the USS Maine exploded in Havana Bay, Cuba, killing 268 crew members. It was the beginning of the Spanish-American War. Here we can see the headlines: Maine explosion caused by bomb or torpedo. And by April, Spanish-American War halted all baseball activity in Puerto Rico. That picture that we're seeing now, it was taken in May, mid-May. That's the U.S. Navy attacking San Juan. That's El Morro Castle. But they didn't enter. They didn't invade the island that day. That day only they attacked because it was in July 25th, 1898. Yes, 2 months later, they entered by the south of the island by Huanica. But that was the first attack. And people got scared. Everything in Puerto Rico um, was stopped. Everybody waiting. What was going to happen to the island? It happened to Cuba. It happened in the Philippines. Brigadier General Theodore Swan, in his memory, he was a Union Army officer during the American Civil War who received the Medal of Honor for his actions at the Battle of Pebbles Farm. He also served with distinction during the Spanish American and Philippine American Wars. Allegedly, during a ceasefire in Mayagüez, Puerto Rico on August 11th, Schwann's troop played baseball. So that was the first time that Americans play baseball in Puerto Rico, in Mayagüez. Um, we can imagine that that happened to in Ponce and San Juan, where there were U.S. Army barracks, because uh, soldiers, the Marines, they knew how to play. They knew how to play baseball since the Civil War. There you see the cavalry entering Mayagüez on the 11th of August, 1898. It's possible that after that picture taken, they play baseball because that was the same day. And then in 1899, baseball at San Felipe del Morro Castle in San Juan, Puerto Rico began. That's the Morro, one of it's majestic and Morro Castle.
Oh yeah.
This is the present. You see, it's beautiful. That's the first thing you when you come in a crucero or a cruise, and you see that majestic castle. We see now. This is El Morro Castle some years ago, 1940s. Now you can see a baseball diamond over there.
Right.
Now this is a postcard, 1910. You can see that's a baseball game, and there's a diamond too. Here, next one you're going to see it near. That's from the other side, another island. You see the Morro Castle far, and here you see the ball players, the game. Here you see the two dugouts, two tents.
Oh yeah.
You see the sea, Atlantic Sea, and at the north. Another angle. See where the people are sitting, looking for the game. And that place right now is the same. It's the same buildings, everything. Nothing has changed.
Oh, that's great. Is the diamond still there?
No, it's green. Because after that, they made a golf course.
Ah.
Yeah. Uh, then we come to Lucas. You see how they play. The catcher standing. He doesn't have protection. Only a mask and the glove. Doesn't have knee protectors, and what they put in the chest protector. And they play almost straight. That in that era, they catch almost straight. He did, the catchers didn't go maybe a little bit on the waist of the ball player, but not as the catchers. As we know the catchers today. Okay, and then around 1910, 1911, the first ballpark was constructed in Puerto Rico. It's called, if you remember, as the Parque de la Parada 8, Stop 8 in Puerta de Tierra, San Juan. And you can see it had only one stand with a roof, and then the stand behind under the sun. And that's what's the first one. Then they constructed one in Ponce, Charles Acheterry Park, and one in Mayagüez, Liga Paris League. Those were the three first ballparks constructed in Puerto Rico. This is very interesting. This is the grandstand, and you can see people integrated. No problem with that. They were blacks and whites sitting together. Thank God we didn't have problem with segregation, integration or segregation. We never had segregation in Puerto Rico, and since the beginning of baseball, uh, black ball players play with white players in the same team.
Yeah, that's amazing because I only recently learned that the Cuban League early on was segregated, which I had no idea until just about a month ago.
I didn't know neither. Really, I thought they were integrated. Wrong.
Very early on, we're
Uh-huh.
talking late 1800s.
Okay, so we always were integrated, and I think that helped us a lot in the development of our ball players. Then In 1917, Jesus Velasquez, they call him El Tigre, the Tiger, became the first black Puerto Rican to play in the United States. The newspaper says that he played shortstop and that he played with the Syracuse Giants. I have not found that team in any book. I just had the Larry Lester book that he just published, and looking for that team, Syracuse Giants. Please write down that name. Maybe you can find something about that in your journey. But the newspaper said that he was contracted by the Syracuse Giants. Jesus El Tigre Velasquez, he was born in Loíza, Puerto Rico. That was the first black Puerto Rican to go to the United States and play. And then from 1916 to 1937, we began to receive the visit of a lot of teams. In the winter, Cuban Stars of Alejandro Pompez and Abel Linares, the Brooklyn Royal Giants, New York Black Yankees, Havana Giants, Boston Stars, Lincoln Giants, Royal Giants, Brooklyn Eagles, Estrella de Ramírez, el Concordia de Venezuela, Almendares de Cuba, Licey de Dominican Republic, Azteca de Mexico, Arlington, New York, Asheville, Hazleton, and the Cincinnati Reds came to Puerto Rico between 1916 to 1937. Cincinnati Reds were the first team, major league team, to play in Puerto Rico. Later, the New York Yankees and the Brooklyn Dodgers with Jackie Robinson. And then until December 2020, Iran Beaton was our first big leaguer, and that changed because the players that saw action in those organized leagues in the Negro Leagues are now big leaguers, and we have our first big leaguer. History changed. In 1926, Jose Gacho Torres became the first Puerto Rican in the big leagues with the Newark Stars of the Eastern Coral League, one of 7 leagues operating from 1920 to 1948, and recognized as Major League. Jose Gacho Torres, Gacho, the nickname, Gacho, you tell Gacho when a person has that nickname is that he misses a part of his ear.
Hmm.
And he lost a part of his ear, and they call him in Puerto Rico Gacho. When you miss some part of your ear, he was Gacho, and he was a great player. He would play outfielder and first base, excuse me. And here, this is the box score. This is from my friend Gary Ashwell. He was the one that got that box score in 2015. We didn't know that the Negro Leagues were going to be declared major leagues, but he wrote to me and say, "Okay, do you know some ball player by the name of Jose Gacho Torres?" And I said, "Yes, I know him." And I sent him a picture of Gacho Torres, and then he made that article in his and he has a web page. I got type. I got how you spell that?
A gate, maybe? I'm not exactly sure, but it's a
Eh,
wonderful, wonderful site. I recommend if people haven't
yeah,
checked it out.
it has a lot of stories, and he a type, and he did that. He published that article. And that's the postcard, and you can see there. You can see newer stars. Yeah, Gacho is batting one, two, three, four, five, fifth, and he played first baseman and left field. And in the second game, he batted fifth again, and he played center field. And that's the only box score of Gacho Torres, Jose Torres, because those Newark Stars only play 11 games, and they abandoned the Eastern Color League. And there's no more box scores about Jose Torres, but that box score makes him the first Puerto Rican in the big leagues.
And that's George Tubby Scales there at second base, isn't it?
Yes, your scale, strong candidate for the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
And Dixie is in shortstop.
Oh, yes.
Dixie played a lot of, was a great ball player here in Puerto Rico, played with Santurce. And after he retired, he stayed in Puerto Rico. I told you in the first program, working with Pedrin Zorrilla in the gas station that Pedrin had in Santurce. a very beloved player, Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I think I saw that Ted Strong was on that team, although I don't think he
That's-
played in that doubleheader.
Oh, okay. That's strong. Let me see. No, no, he didn't play. And
Excellent. I love looking at the box scores.
and they lost both games. The New York Stars. So in 1930, winter of 1936-37, that was the last time that these teams came to Puerto Rico. The people didn't go to the games because the teams that came from the United States almost every time defeated Puerto Rican teams. And while I was investigating that era, I know why Puerto Rican teams could not uh, win more games. It's because there were too many teams in Puerto Rico. They didn't do an All Star. If they have done a select, as an All Star, they could have been done better. But there was all around, spread it. There were about 10, 15 teams of Puerto Rico playing with a selection of Negro Leaguers, a selection of Dominican Republic, and it was tough. And people began to not do not go to the games. I think you say enthusiasm decrease. And then in 1937, 38, we didn't have winter ball. And in 1938, in the winter of 1938-39, for that season, La Liga de Béisbol Semiprofesional de Puerto Rico held its first season. Negro Leaguers enriched the sport and delighted Puerto Rico's rabid baseball fans with their fine play. They especially enjoy the island hospitality. Players had time for fishing, socializing in town plazas, and having dinner at the homes of teammates, fans, and team officials. This was Puerto Rico was paradise for all these Negro Leaguers, as you see, because once they came to Puerto Rico, they could go any place, and people were so friendly. Puerto Ricans are very friendly, and we developed a special bond, very strong bond with all these Negro League players.
That's amazing. During that time, was there summer baseball still being played, or
Yeah, summer baseball, but with local teams only.
yeah?
Local teams only. And then in winter, all those Negro Leagues came. And then when the La Liga de Béisbol Semi-Profesional was established, then that was the first organized league.
Great.
Uh, one of the persons with more impact in the Caribbean baseball was Pedrin Zorrilla, owner of the Cangrejero de Santurce and a great admirer of Negro League players. Pedrin was like a father to all these players, and he followed Negro Leagues since he was a young kid because he studied in the United States. And he admired so much Negro League players that he had devotion for a Saint San Martin de Porres. San Martin de Porres is a black saint, and he walked with a figure of San Martin de Porres, a little figure, in his pocket always.
Oh, amazing.
So he loved Negro League players. And as we go on, we're gonna see all the things that he did. The first one, they approved a franchise for Santurce. He named Joshua Gibson his manager, and I am almost sure that he saw Joshua Gibson when he came with the Brooklyn Eagles when he was manager, and I'm sure that he said this guy can this ball player can manage. So if once I have a team, I'm gonna give it to him, and that's what he did, and that was the beginning of a true friendship. They were like brothers. Gibson managed two times in his life, and both were in Puerto Rico. As I said, Brooklyn Eagles in 1936-37 and Santurce in 1939-40. That Brooklyn Eagles, the owner was Ifa Manley,
Hmm.
and the manager was going to be Vic Harris. But they didn't get they can't establish the contract. Money. How many? What was the contract with Vic Harris? He didn't like what they offered to him, and then IFA decided to give the job to Joshua Gibson. That was his first managerial job for the great Gibson. And
That's
you
great.
remember the Josh Gibson was so friend of Pedrin Zorrilla that when he died January 20th, 1947. Look at the date of that postal Christmas postal. January 1, 1947, 19 days before he died. And he
Mm.
wrote to Pedrin and he said in Spanish, siempre mi hermano, Joshua Gibson, always my brother. So imagine a black man in 1947 calling a white man brother.
Yeah, that is incredible.
Yeah. And Pedrin Zorrilla in 1975, Pedrin Zorrilla and his son Enrique with Ted Page discovered the unmarked grave of Joshua Gibson. Nobody knew where he was buried since 1947.
Mm.
And they made the arrangement with Monte Irving, who worked with Commissioner Bobby Kuhn to put a headstone. And that headstone was initiative of Pedrin Zorrilla and Enrique and Ted Page. As a matter of fact, Monte Irving was with them too, because Monte Irving went in a car and picked them up at the hotel. Because Pedrin said, "I want to visit the grave of Joshua Gibson." And when they went to the cemetery, Allegheny Cemetery, there was no grave, identified. And so they went to the office. They gave them the number, and they began. There was cobblestones, and they began to look for the number. And it was Enrique who discovered with the number the grave of Josh Gibson. So the reason that cobblestone, that headstone is because of these four gentlemen who went there and discover the marked grave of the great Josh Gibson. You want to say something, Adam?
I'm just that's amazing. I was curious. This might be changing the subject a little bit, but it's still about Gibson. Was his arrival in Puerto Rico something that ushered in the arrival of more players? Like the fact that he was such a huge star and he went to Puerto Rico, did that then attract other stars, or were the stars already attracted in the first place?
No, no, no. The stars were attracted since the first, because they knew Puerto Rico.
Right.
From that period of 1931 to 1936 that I told you, 1937, a lot of those players that came in that period began to work contract to play in the Liga de Béisbol Semi-Profesional. And that, I can tell you that at the beginning, we had Alejandro Holmes, we had Joshua Gibson, we had Buck Leonard, Buster Clarkson, Satchel Paige, Bill Perkins. There were quite few stars here already, and they have heard. Oh, if they hadn't played, they have heard a lot of good things about Puerto Rico, and they wanted to come.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So there was a lot of talent right away when the league kicked
Oh,
off.
yeah, there was a lot of talent. And now here we're going to see now in this part of the presentation how the ball players, Negro Leaguers, began the relationship that ball players had with Puerto Ricans. That was a group of ball players who wanted to meet Max Manning, and Max Manning took a picture. I think that's in the park, Charles Acheteri Park in Ponce, and that's a baseball team with kids, little league maybe. They wanted to meet Max Manning. The next one, is one of my favorites.
I love
Ray
this
Parlow.
one.
Ray Parlow. What I have read is that he defeated Satchel Paige.
Mm.
And people when San Juan won the game, people went into the ball, the diamond. And I think because of his face, his expression, that he was scared, because seeing all those people running toward him. They say, this is trouble for me. But you can see there black people, white people, rich, poor people, everybody, raising Roy Palo. Roy Palo was another great Negro leaguer. He's the only pitcher to win the batting crown in Puerto Rico, 443. And he not only was a great pitcher, was a great batter. And that's just one of my favorite, because there you can see, for me, how Puerto Ricans were. You see those faces. Look at this face.
It's amazing.
You know, look this one, and he cannot believe it. I love that picture, and that was going to be the portrait of my book. I told you, Negro Leaguers in Puerto Rico,
Right.
that I began in 2006, but now I have the web page. Here's another picture: Bob Thurman, El Tabor, Ramon Concepcion, and Willard Brown with another kids. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 girls. They're young, they're small young girls and older girls, older women, and they were, Santurce had a lot of fans, and they loved their players. And Willard Brown, Bob Thurman, they were like kings in Puerto Rico.
Right.
This is another one. Look at this one. That Santurce team, visiting another school. From what I can identify, this is El Tabor. This is Vic Harris, Tommy Butts, Gene Markey. This Gene Markland. I don't know this one. This is Leon Day. John Ford Smith. This is Bob Thurman. He's not looking to the camera because he is signing an autograph to this kid.
Mhm.
That was, tremendous. And look at the students. All of them that's a private school. I'm sure that's a private school uniform. And they were crazy about Santurce team and crazy with all the teams. This one I like it. I like too. It means a lot. Willard Brown, Pedrin Zorrilla, Willard Brown, and Luis Muñoz Marin. Luis Muñoz Marin is the governor of Puerto Rico.
Mhm.
And Willard Brown, I think he came at least to the La Fortaleza, Governor's Mansion, easily at least 5 times. And Muñoz knew him well. There was one time that Willard Brown was going to bat, and he was in the batting circle, and Muñoz Marin came to the park, Sisto Escobar Stadium, and Muñoz Marin was a big figure. And when he entered the park, everybody began to clap. And Willard Brown began to think, I'm not batting yet. Who are they clapping? and that's in the newspaper. And Willard Brown was like this, and he looked, and it was Luis Muñoz Marin, and Luis Muñoz Marin and Willard Brown crossed eyes, and Willard Brown tipped his cap to Luis Muñoz Marin. And Luis
That's
Muñoz
amazing.
Marin said, now, that was the relationship that everybody had with these Negro Leaguers. You see here Luis Muñoz Marin, and this is Bob Thurman. You know that I told you in the first program, Thurman was not like Willard Brown, that's like Lugeri and Babe Ruth,
Right.
always in the shadow of Willard Brown. This is another one. That's in the Fortaleza too.
Mhm.
That's a white woman kissing Willard Brown. Look at the face of Willard Brown, and that kiss, is genuine. That's a big. Willard Brown had a lot of fans, and he has in his arm. That's cigarettes, Camel.
I
That was
didn't
a
even
prize.
notice.
That was one of the prizes that they gave, Camel cigarettes, and he was very happy. We don't, we love Willard Brown, and I didn't meet him, but I have read so much about him, and I feel excuse me, that that I know him, because all the things that I have read about, so many good things about him. and the all the people, how they love Wheeler Brown.
He was just an absolute legend, and seeing his numbers in Puerto Rico has been really eye opening as well. Where it was just another side of his career that I didn't know about until recently. But then I go to your site, and there's all of this data and all of this history about this other part of his career, and that's why I love this project so much, because it paints a whole new picture of like who these players were, and a more complete picture.
A more complete picture. Yes, Puerto Rico was missing. I remember. I think I told you when they inducted Wheeler Brown to the Hall of Fame that we were waiting. I was waiting with his daughter, Brenda.
Mhm.
She lives in Nevada, and we didn't know if he was going to come in the plate with the Santurce cap. And we were waiting at 6 o'clock in the Cooperstown. And when they unveiled the plaque, it was with Kansas City Monarchs. But in the yearbook, the annuary, the Wheeler Brown was with Santurce uniform. And I got to my friend Jeff Idelson. I talked with Jeff. Jeff, please, Wheeler Brown was a hero in Puerto Rico. He did a lot of things. He won 2 Triple Crowns, and they included the data of Puerto Rico in his plate in Cooperstown. And I'm very happy. I was in that induction. Raymond Brown. I met the son of Raymond Brown. Those was the two Puerto Ricans, the interest for Puerto Rico, Raymond Brown and Wheeler Brown.
Yeah, it says right here. I brought up his plaque right now. Right at the very end, it says two-time Triple Crown winner in the Puerto Rican Winter League.
Yep. Yeah. I was very happy, because as you know, and we have worked for a while now. The importance for me that they know what those ball players did in Puerto Rico. Here we have Wheeler Brown down the aisle of Paramount Theater in Santurce, Puerto Rico. He came in the Paramount Theater. They every week, every Saturday, they gave it a award, the Player of the Week, and Wheeler Brown almost won almost every Saturday. And he came as a ball player, with the jersey, the pants, with the bat, and he comes down the aisle and see the people applauding. And
It's amazing.
here he is receiving his already they're transmitting by radio, WKQ. That was a big event. And then after that, you can see a drummer here. There was music after that. And Wheeler Brown won a lot of Player of the Week awards. This story is these two stories that come, you can see it's very, very interesting. Norma Candal was a comedian and actress in Puerto Rico, very famous. And she was a fan of Santurce and a fan of Wheeler Brown. And she said, I remember with great nostalgia the day I waited with my friends for 4 hours in the hot sun of Ponce de Leon Avenue to touch Wheeler Brown. We were like fried chicken rinds, but in euphoria that lasted for weeks because Mr. Brown's car stopped and touched us with such a beautiful look and his strong hand of a great athlete. So this young lady, 12, 13 years old, she was under the sun waiting to see her idol, her favorite player. And she told that story many years later. She is dead. She died about 10 years ago. A great comedian and a great actress. And this is another story. Johnny Gaucho Davis. We call him Johnny Gaucho Davis, but in the States they know him as Johnny Davis. It appeared in the newspapers that 4-year-old girl, Mikey Fass, admired Gaucho Davis and had asked her parents to take her to the Paris League where Mayagüez played to meet him. The girl became ill and had to be hospitalized, postponing the encounter. Davis found out and went to the hospital to visit her, causing great joy to the girl because she was able to meet her idol.
So great.
And Johnny Davis is the only American player to throw a no-hitter, be leader in home runs, and MVP.
Oh, wow. I
Yeah,
don't really know anything about him.
yeah. In Puerto Rico, there's not much in the United States. It's like Buster Clarkson, that he was big here in Puerto Rico, but in the Negro Leagues they don't mention too much. That happened too with Johnny Davis. Johnny Davis in Puerto Rico he played with Mayagüez, he played with Santurce, with San Juan, and people love him. And he was a great player. When he didn't pitch, he played center field, and he was a great center field. Well, during the down the road, we're going to talk about Johnny Davis and all those ball players. 16 Negro Leaguers who saw action in Puerto Rico are in the big league, are in the Puerto Rico, who saw action in Puerto Rico are in the Puerto Rico Professional Baseball League and are in the Baseball Hall of Fame. 16 Negro Leagues who play in Puerto Rico Professional League are in the Baseball Hall of Fame. That's the correct way to say it. And now, here are the 16. Ray Campanella, Satchel Paige, Joshua Gibson, Buck Leonard, Monte Irving, Oscar Charleston, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Ray Dandridge, Leon Day, Willie Wells, Larry Doby, Hilton Smith, Willard Brown, Raymond Brown, Jude Wilson. Leon Day is the only Hall of Famer who got inducted with the Puerto Rican baseball cap, Aguadilla. The only one.
It's amazing. Yeah, and it's on his plaque, right?
Yeah. If you wish, look his plaque, Leon Day plaque, and you can see the A of Aguadilla.
Now there's these 16 here, but a couple players we've already mentioned. Like there are more players that have a very good case for the Hall of Fame that also had significant careers in Puerto Rico as well.
Yes, they're talking about, Dick Lundy. Dick Lundy,
Absolutely, yeah.
he managed Mayagüez. And those are players, but Oscar Charleston, he was umpire in Puerto Rico.
Oh, really? An umpire? Okay.
Yeah. He came in the 40s.
And didn't Tubby Scales manage several champions in Puerto Rico as well?
Yes, he's the American manager with more championships, 6, 5 with Ponce and 1 with Santurce.
Amazing. Yeah, I think I remember seeing he had like 4 in a row at one point. That's just amazing.
Yeah. You're right. The leader is a Puerto Rican, they call him Maco Oliveras, who won 7. And then comes George Scale with 6. Okay. Additionally, at least 4 other Negro Leaguers in the Hall of Fame saw action in Puerto Rico before 1938. Jose de la Caridad Mendez, that I think I told you in the first program that he stayed in Puerto Rico and lived in Calle San Justo in San Juan and taught Puerto Rican kids to play baseball. Then we have Cristobal Torriente with the Cuban Stars in 1916, both Luis Santos with the Brooklyn Royal Giants in 1916, Martín Diego with Wrigley, Puerto Rico, Concordia and Almendares between 1931 and 1936. That Almendares, that's another case. The guy paid the owner of Almendares in Cuba to use that name in Puerto Rico. So they have Almendares, the original team playing in Cuba, and another Almendares team playing in Puerto Rico in those years of 1931, in the winter of 1931, between 1931 and 1936. And Martin Diego, I'm looking. I'm investigating Martin Diego threw a no-hitter in Puerto Rico, 1931, with that team, Wrigley. So that gives Puerto Rico a total of at least 20 Negro Leaguers of 37 for a very healthy 54%, more than any country in the Caribbean.
Amazing.
The Leon Day, named to the Hall of Fame in 1995, is the only inductee with the Puerto Rican team cap. There you see him. We were talking a little bit a while ago.
There it is,
Yep. That's the cap of Aguadilla.
Now, one other player. Oh, go ahead.
No. Tell me.
I was going to say one other player that I know had a very long career in Puerto Rico is one that a lot of fans, myself included, really didn't know until all of a sudden, literally 1 year ago today, the stats went up on Baseball Reference from the Negro Leagues, and the single season batting average leader was a player named Tetelo Vargas, who
Oh,
I
yes.
was not familiar with before, but he had a very long career, born in Cuba, but had a very long career in Puerto Rico.
Yes, he was born in Dominican Republic.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
See,
Thinking of
Dominican
somebody else there.
Republic. Yeah, okay. Dominican Republic, and he came to Puerto Rico and stayed in Puerto Rico. And after he retired, he worked in Puerto Rico, and he is buried in Guayama, Puerto Rico. And he
Oh, is
married
he?
married a Puerto Rican lady, and all his kids were born in Puerto Rico. El gran Juan Tetelo Vargas, he was, we can say, he was in the ballot of 2006 with Pancho Coimbre,
Mm,
but in the first cut, he got off in the first cut
right.
because I don't think he didn't play too much in the Negro Leagues.
Exactly. Yeah.
But if Pancho Coimbre and Tetelo Vargas, who have played at least 10 years, they will be definitely a genuine candidate for the Hall of Fame. But they played too little. But Tetelo Vargas played in Puerto Rico from 1938, from the 30s to the 50s, and he came to with Concordia too. In that period, he came to with Concordia, and he played with Guayama. He played with San Juan, Mayagüez, Santurce, and then he finishes his career, tremendous career, with Caguas.
Mm. Yeah,
And
he's
here
a
we have,
very
huh?
interesting He's a very interesting ball player. I think I saw that there's a field in Puerto Rico named for him as well.
Yes, and here and in Dominican Republic, the games of the Caribbean series
Mhm.
were held at the Tetelo Vargas Stadium.
Oh, maybe that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yes,
Excellent.
Tetelo Vargas Stadium, and that's Juan Marichal Stadium. Yes, but we here in Puerto Rico, we feel like he was like we love him as he was Puerto Rican very much. Here's again the governor of Puerto Rico receiving Willie Mays in his mansion. Those were better times, 1954. But Willie Mays was when he came to Puerto Rico in 1954. That team with Clemente and Bob Thurman and Buster Clarkson, the governor right away invited him to the Fortaleza. You can see there Willie Mays, Luis Muñoz Marin, Ruben Gomez, great pitcher, the first Black Latino to win a World Series game, Pedrin Zorrillas, and Herman Franks, who managed later the San Francisco Giants. Willie Mays had a good time in Puerto Rico. You can
That
see here
outfield.
yeah. Willie Mays here in Puerto Rico in Mar Chiquita, Manatí, at the beach house of Pedrin Zorrilla. This is Boston Classroom here. This is Willie Mays enjoying my and here you see Pedrin Zorrilla roasting a pig. Here is Willie Mays, Herman Franks, and Ruben Gomez. Let me see something. Yes, that's the same day, same shirt. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Then another important figure, although he didn't play too much in the Negro Leagues, but yes, Indianapolis Clowns, I think 1 year. But Hank Aaron saw action in Puerto Rico with Caguas in 1953-54. He came as a second baseman. And it was here in Puerto Rico that he became a right fielder because he was having trouble with his defense. So manager told him to go to the right field, batted some balls, and they said you're gonna stay at the right field. And he tied the league with 9 homers with Jim Rivera.
Oh, wow.
And his daughter Gail was born in Caguas. His first daughter was
Oh, wow.
born in Caguas in Puerto Rico. Gail.
That's amazing. I had no idea about that.
Uh-huh. Very strong relationship between Hank Aaron and Caguas, Puerto Rico. Uh, Although Jackie Robinson didn't play in Puerto Rico, first he was signed by Ponce in 1945. That's one of the projects that we have, Adam, in the future. Jackie Robinson in Puerto Rico. But I wanted to bring this photo because on this is Alfonso Valdez, the owner of Mayagüez, signing Jackie Robinson to manage his team for the 1950-51 season. That was in an hotel in New York. This is Rachel, as you know, and this is the wife of Alfonso Valdez. I don't know the gentleman of the in the middle. And Jackie Robinson signed the contract, and he asked for a house in the beach for his wife and for his kid, Jackie Jr., so they can enjoy beach. And they sent the contract signed to Happy Chandler, and Happy Chandler did not approve the contract
Hmm.
because they had to first come to him. He had to give permission, and then Jackie Robinson signed. So that we could not see Jackie Robinson in our La Liga de Béisbol Profesional as a manager. But we didn't have Jackie Robinson, but we gave the first shot to Frank Robinson
Oh,
with
wow.
Dulce. Frank Robinson began his managerial career in Puerto Rico. Uh, that time, from 1966 to 1974, 75, Santurce had an agreement with Baltimore, and Baltimore sent all the best prospects to Puerto Rico. You can see here Larry Haney, Paul Blair, Dave May. Jim Palmer came to Puerto Rico through a no-hitter.
Mhm.
And in 1966, 1967, El Weaver was the manager.
Oh,
But
wow.
in 1968, he became manager of Baltimore. So he didn't come to Puerto Rico, and they gave the chance to Frank Robinson, and he began here to manage. And we know that in 1975, he became the first black manager in the big leagues with Cleveland. So we had to do much with Frank Robinson's career.
Oh, that's amazing.
Negro Leaguers were unique to Puerto Ricans. We loved them, we cared for them, and waited eagerly every winter to see them play with our favorite teams because they were our heroes too. That's our presentation. I think you know there's people that are watching and are with us can see why those Negro Leaguers came to Puerto Rico, love to come to Puerto Rico. And as I said before, they enrich our history, baseball history, and we gave them work and we treat them like they deserve, like human beings. And that's one of the things that I want to make clear, the importance of Puerto Rico in all this process of integration and the process of all of the chance, the opportunity that we gave even Frank Robinson years later, and we gave him the first opportunity to manage. So we play a special uh, we have a special place in baseball, Negro leagues and in major leagues, the major leagues history. So that's what we're talking about in this project, Negro Leaguers in Puerto Rico.
Yes, and our next episode will be digging more into some of the data and facts and feats from the island, which I'm so excited about. I study history from a statistical perspective, so that seems very exciting to me, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, that we were Adam. We were going to don't have the date yet. It's going to be next month. It's going to be a Wednesday. I have to talk with Alan when we're going to do it. But yes, that will be our next episode, the second episode, facts and feats of all these Negro leaguers, and unbelievable what all these players did. As I said, how they enrich our baseball. Uh, there's some comments you have there, Richard Scallon. Awesome place to play a game. Wow, that's really interesting. Thank you very much, guys. I'm really looking to your next presentation. Paul Julian, can't wait to visit the island.
Mhm.
I live in Caguas. I never knew Adam play there. So interesting. Ed Panas, great episode. Keep it up. I thank you so much, people are with all those comments. And you can visit. Before we go, you can go here to that's our channel, Negro Leaguers in Puerto Rico. Please subscribe. You can follow us at Twitter, Negro Leaguers PR, and that's our page, negroleaguerspuertorico.com. And I hope that everybody has enjoyed this first episode of Negro Leaguers in Puerto Rico. I feel very happy.
I certainly enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and I can't wait to learn even more next time.
So until next then, see
All
you
right.
next
Thank you.
month. Okay,
See you next
thank
month,
you.
everyone.
Next month.